Where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. God has given us unlimited treasures in His Word. Every time we open it, we can discover a new treasure or admire an old one. What will we find today? Here's Carla Early with Treasure Hunt in the Word.
I love visiting history museums everywhere I go, just getting a little flavor of the area to understand the people there a bit better. I guess that's why I like to visit Hebrews 11 time and again, the Hall of Faith as it's called. It highlights the history of believers from the beginning, a history museum of faith. As we walk in, we read the plaque, "Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen." That's what these men and women in the Hall of Faith had, faith that accepted God's promises to them as rock solid, even when they couldn't see proof of them, building their lives on those promises and acting on them. In their thoughts, words, and actions, they staked their lives on a greater eternal object, God's kingdom. And as verse 2 says, by this faith they obtained a good testimony. So as we tour the museum, we meet Abel offering God a righteous sacrifice, Enoch walking with God, Noah obeying God's warnings and building a huge ark while looking foolish to the rest of his world. Then Abram, packed up, waving goodbye to his family, moving into the unknown with his wife Sarah by his side. Abraham's also in the next display, offering up his son as Isaac obediently submits. Then Isaac and Jacob have their own displays, blessing their sons. Then Joseph is on his deathbed, instructing his family to take his bones back to the promised land. Then Moses' parents hiding their baby, and Moses all grown up, leading the first Passover Seder, staff in hand. Then there was a section of a wall, and a scarlet cord hanging from the window with rubble everywhere. Room after room we could walk through, meeting Bible characters full of faith, all the way through Acts. And if we've read Fox's Book of Martyrs, we might recognize others as they lived out their faith. Wouldn't you like to wander those halls, reading about those who had clung to God's promises throughout the centuries? I'd especially look for some of my relatives I'd gotten to know as I did my genealogy, those who stepped out in faith to move their families to America, fight for their freedom in the Revolutionary War, and pioneer with their whole church into the wilderness of Kentucky. Coming into the 1900s, I'd see my great-grandmother on her knees praying for her grandchildren. My grandfather fixing things for neighbors and raising 2 boys on his own. Then my father telling his prospective employers that he didn't work on Sunday. Then I'd come to my room. What would the display show? Maybe it would show me walking into a studio apartment in New Orleans, Louisiana, all alone in a big city, a 12-hour drive from my family because God had called me to go to seminary there. Or would they show me sitting on a couch reading a book to my kids, homeschooling by faith? Or would it be a scene of me laying on the floor writing these podcasts in spite of my back pain, determined to start podcasting back in 2020? What would the sign say? By faith, Carla did what? And what is He calling me to step out in faith to do right now? What would the sign say in your room? What would the display show? How have you accepted God's promises as rock-solid truth and built your lives on them without tangible proof? How have you aimed your life on the greater purpose of God's kingdom through faith?
You can contact us at treasurehuntintheword@gmail.com. We'd love to hear the treasures God has given you through His Word. You can listen to other episodes on our website, which you can find in the description below. Thank you for listening, and remember, where your treasure is, there will your heart be also.